Okay, the moment you've been waiting for, word problems. Haha, I know how people feel about word problems. So, let's sort of begin our training on how to deal with word problems. You always want to be on the lookout for keywords at all times. So let's start off with phrases that means equals to. Well, look out for words like equals. 5 equals 2 plus 3, and you would translate that as 5 equals 2 plus 3. So think about how you translate. Gives. The quotient of 8 and 4 gives 2. See, 8 and quotient means divide, so 8 divided by 4 gives 2. Is, was, will be. X is 5. This means x equals 5. Yields. Y plus 6 yields 15. See, yields 15. Amounts to. Twice x amounts to negative 8. Twice x amounts to negative 8. So, just look through those. We're going to try some translations on our own in a minute here. And also just a reminder on operations, keywords for all 4 operations. When you're looking for addition, look out for the words sum, more than, increased by, perimeter. Those are things that can indicate addition. These are just giving you ideas. Look out for the word difference, less than, fewer than, are keywords for subtraction. It might blatantly say minus, just kind of brainstorming here. Look out for the word product or per, $20 per student. And there's 40 students. Okay, well then 20 times 40. So look out for the word per. Area. I wrote it sideways, so it probably looks funny. Area. Look out for the word area. Area of a rectangle. Length times width. So those can be triggers for multiplication. Distribute it evenly. I have $20 and I want to distribute it evenly among my 4 friends. Okay, well then 20 divided by 4, right? So be on the lookout for distributed evenly for division, or quotient is a keyword that division is involved. Here we go. Let's dive into our practice. So this is just general strategy for all word problems. Read and reread the problem, read it a couple times. Choose a variable to represent the unknown and construct a drawing if helpful. And then propose a solution and check it. Okay. Translate the problem into an equation and solve the equation and interpret the results and check that your proposed solution check it in the stated problem and state your conclusion. So it sounds like a lot, but we'll see it's not that bad. Write the following sentence as an equation and use x to represent a number. So I kind of gave this one away. A number subtracted from negative 12, but notice how I had to write it. So be on the lookout for the word subtracted from. Notice a number subtracted from negative 12. It's negative 12, minus the number, and then amounts to, this means equals, 163. Okay, it didn't say to solve it. Right now we're just practicing translating. But really I wanted to, big note to self here, A subtracted from B translates to B minus A. So note to self, watch out for the order on that. Okay, let's try another one. In this example, let me see where I can scoot that. A video game, we're going to try and lay out who's X. A video game system and several games are sold for $460. The cost of the games is 3 times, and I have the answer snipped here, but I want you to kind of, in fact, I'm going to shrink it. I don't want to like peek at it. I'm going to shrink it so we can see it in real time. The cost of the games is 3 times as much as the cost of the system. So let's just lay that out. Games, 3 times as much as the system cost, but the system is going to be X. Something has to be X. So we lay that out. Find the cost of the system and the cost of the games. Well, keyword together. Together is a keyword for adding to. Together, the grand cost is a 460, right? So that means that this expression, the games plus the system, have to make 460. Okay, so 3x plus x has to equal 460. And then just solve. 3x plus 4x, 3x plus x makes 4x, and that equals 460. And then just divide both sides by 4. You can certainly do that off on the margin somewhere. I know longhand division may not be your favorite, but it's a no calculator course, so we practice. 115, so x equals 115, but what I like to do is when I get that, 115, I like to go back and see what that was. Okay, 115 for my system cost, but then the games were whatever 3 times 115 is. And if I don't have a calculator, I always say go off in the margins and just kind of perform that work, whatever 115 times 3 is. So 345. So we'll just note to self here, that's the system cost, and then the games cost is 345. And then that makes sense because 345 and 115 make that grand total of 460. So now what I always like to do, I like to pick problems from a book and, check my answer in the back of the book. So let's expand that answer. See? And we were right. So the cost of the system is 115 and the cost of the games is 345. But I wanted you to see that done in real time. So the trick for these real world problems is always make like a key where somebody's going to be X and somebody's going to be based off of that X. So hope that helps. Let's try the next. Translating, we can never get enough of translating. Translate and then solve. The difference of a number and 4. Okay, how do you say the difference of a number and 4? Okay, x minus 4 is equal to the quotient of 20 and 5. How do you say the quotient of 20 and 5? You say 20 divided by 5. I like to write it as a fraction though, 20 over 5. So note to self, you could say 20 divided by 5, but we're going to get away from that notation and say 20 over 5. Then find the number. Well, let's clean that. 20 over 5, or 20 divided by 5, is clearly 4. Okay, so now letter, number, number. I want to bring this number across the equal sign, so I'm going to add 4. So I have x equals 4 plus 4, which is 8. And voila, you see I have the answer key pasted in there. So the missing number is 8. So when you say the difference of a number and 4 is equal to the quotient of 20 and 5, when you first read that as a big sentence, it's like, what? But if you take it into bits and translate every little bit that they're saying, you got it. Translate and solve. So you may have to do a lot of practice with these on your own, but I guide you through the next one. Maybe you want to hit pause. Try it on your own. Translate and then solve. 4 times the difference of some number and 3. Well, focus in on the difference of some number and 3. The difference of some number and 3. But you want 4 times that difference. See how I translated that? Amounts to, that means equals, the quotient of 104 and 13. Again, quotient means divide, so the quotient of 104 and 13, I'm going to write it like that. Okay, now distributive property, 4x minus 12 equals something. Well, I'm going to go off on the margin. How many times does 13 go into 104? Maybe about 8. Yep, that works. So that will be 8. And then you want to get the x isolated, so you're going to add 12 to both sides. Now you've got 4x equals 20, therefore x equals 5. If you need to write out that final step, go ahead. Divide both sides by 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. If you can jump mentally and say that it's 5, that's okay too. All right. So hopefully you got that one on your own. And and that was it for today for the guided notes. In time I'll put more on iTunes, but that was it for our guided notes. Hope that helps. Good luck out there.